All right, today we're diving into three really big topics, and they're all connected in a way you might not expect. We're talking about cancer treatment, the opioid crisis, and of course, cannabis. It really boils down to this one huge question. Could a single plant actually help us fight two of the biggest public health crises we're facing? Could cannabis be a key to managing cancer pain and reducing our reliance on opioids? Well, a brand new, federally funded study has just dropped a major clue. And frankly, it points to a connection that's pretty hard to ignore. So let's get right into it. What does this landmark research actually tell us? Let's break down the evidence. Okay, before we even touch the findings, you have to understand where this is coming from. This is not some fringe report. We're talking about a study published by the American Medical Association, funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, and run by researchers from top-tier universities. That level of credibility, that's exactly why everyone is paying so much attention to this. And they don't beat around the bush. Here's their conclusion right up front. The researchers state pretty directly that their data suggest cannabis could be used as a substitute for opioids when it comes to managing cancer-related pain. That is a really powerful statement. And get this, the sheer scale of this study is just staggering. They looked at data over a 13-year span, analyzing more than 3 million patient records every single year. Their goal was simple, but so important, to see what actually happens to opioid prescriptions for cancer patients when cannabis laws in their state change. So after crunching all those numbers, what did the data actually reveal? Let's dig into the key findings. So here's where it gets really fascinating. The study found this critical difference. It wasn't just making cannabis legal that moved the needle. The data showed a much bigger drop in opioid use only after physical dispensaries actually opened up. In other words, access is the real game changer here. It's one thing to say something is legal on paper, but it's a whole other thing for people to be able to safely and easily get it. This shows that real-world availability is what seems to empower patients to make a different choice for their pain management. Let's put a hard number on that impact. For every 10,000 cancer patients in a given area, the opening of a medical dispensary was linked to about 41 fewer of them getting an opioid prescription. In the world of statistics, that's a really significant drop. It means it's super unlikely to just be a coincidence. And it wasn't just about fewer prescriptions. The prescriptions that were written were for shorter amounts of time. The average supply of opioids went down by more than 2.5 days each quarter. That's a real, tangible reduction in the amount of opioids out there in the community. You can see it really clearly on this chart. The effect wasn't just for medical cannabis. That taller bar on the left, that's the drop from medical dispensaries, over 41. But look at the shorter bar on the right. Even when recreational dispensaries opened, you still saw a notable reduction of more than 20. The trend holds up. And what's really crucial here is that this wasn't just happening in one specific demographic. The researchers saw these reductions happening consistently across different ages, sexes, races, and ethnicities. That's a big deal because it suggests this could be a broadly useful tool for all kinds of different patients. Now, any single study, no matter how good it is still just one piece of a bigger puzzle. So the question is this finding an outlier, or does it actually fit into a larger pattern we're seeing in the research? Well, the short answer is no, this isn't an outlier at all. In fact, the researchers themselves point out that their findings line up perfectly with a large and growing body of evidence that all points in the same direction. And that pattern is it's incredibly consistent. You've got studies from Australia to Utah finding the same substitution effect. Other research has connected cannabis legalization to fewer fatal overdoses, a better chance of quitting opioids for people with chronic pain, and even a drop in payments from opioid companies to doctors. So this big AMA study isn't just a random finding. It's like a major cornerstone that helps lock the rest of the puzzle into place. So, after sifting through this mountain of evidence, what's the big takeaway? What does it all mean? And where do we go from here? If you take away just one thing, let it be this. We now have solid, federally funded evidence from a top medical journal showing a clear link. When cancer patients get better access to cannabis, their use of opioids goes down. Simple as that. But of course, good science always leads to more questions, right? The researchers are clear that this isn't the final word. They're calling for more studies to figure out exactly how this works for individual people, what the biological reasons are, and what the long-term effects might be. And that leaves us with one last, really provocative question. The evidence is building that cannabis can be a substitute for opioids when it comes to pain. So it really makes you wonder, what else could it be a substitute for? And what will the science uncover next?